Well, welcome to the studio of the Culpeper Media Network, where tonight we kick off our football season with our annual Coach's Corner. I'm Mark O'Connell, joined as always by, you know this guy, Steve Peacock. Steve, welcome aboard, and what can I say? Here we are again.
Here we are. Can't wait. I mean, the year's flown by, and here we are back again, starting our 26th season with doing high school football, and it gets better every year. I anticipate once July, middle of July, I start thinking about football, and I gotta get some information here. I gotta get geared up for it, and I love it, and it's great to be back with you, and looking forward to it.
And that's why, as much as I love summer, I don't feel down when the summer is going to conclude, because we're going to go into high school football, and to me, I mean, I love football at all levels, but to me, the high school game is still probably the most wholesome of all of it. And it's good to be back with you. We started back in 1998, and they keep bringing us back, so we must be doing something right, Steve.
I think so.
Yeah, but anyway, we always kick off our season with the Coach's Corner, and tonight, of course, we'll get a chance to talk to our coaches. That's Blue Devils head coach James Ford and Eastern View head coach Brian Lowry. Steve, before we talk to our coaches, let's talk about this season. We've been following along for a long time, and the Blue Devils are under Coach Ford. He started in 2019. Last year, I think they were, 4-6? Mm-hmm. And they actually made the playoffs, played Goochland, lost a really close game down there to the Bulldogs, and then Eastern View, for the first time in a long time, really didn't make the playoffs. But I got a feeling that Coach Lowry's pretty upbeat about this team.
Yeah, he is, and I think with having been there now, his second year, he knows what his team, he knows what he wants in the form of offense and defense. I think he's now got the players that want to play. They're also they were very inexperienced last year as sophomores. Now they've got a year experience under their belt. And a couple new coaches that he brought in, might be bringing in or brought in. I think that the real key to Eastern View is they want to get back on top. They're 5-5 last year. That's not good enough for Eastern View. They're perennial district either champions or at least second place. They're not used to this, so I have a feeling they're going to be ready to go. Culpeper, on the other hand, they lost their most experienced weapon, Malachi Terrell. However, due to being transferred, but I just think it's going to be interesting seeing how much the Blue Devils have improved.
Yeah, and so and then we'll get a look at the numbers and how it's all going to play out. We'll talk about the season. Of course, they kick off with the Cannonball Classic, annual event. Steve, we might as well just face reality. It's a game the Blue Devils have never won, and likewise the Cyclones have never lost. But nothing stays the same, they say, nothing stays constant. Can the Blue Devils maybe get it done this year, or do the Cyclones keep it going?
Well, I've been so optimistic for the last 3 years that this might be the Blue Devils' year. It might be the Blue Devils' year. This is the first time that I don't really know, because I haven't. If they had Malachi Terrell, you kind of knew in their offensive line, you could really kind of gauge them a little bit. But now with his loss, and they're replacing a lot of starters, it's going to be very interesting to see what Coach Ford's got in store for Eastern View. And, again, that is, it's going to be, is this going to be a really fun game? It's going to be one in the trenches, and whoever makes the least mistakes, I think will win. I just don't want to see Culpeper get blown out like they've had done in years past.
Well, I think the closest game was the one that was played in 2009. And remember, it was like 20-19, how bitter cold it was that night.
Yeah.
And since then and before then, a lot of these games haven't been close. All right, Steve, this is the Coach's Corner. So we need to bring in the coaches. And let's bring in Blue Devils head coach James Ford as our leadoff guy. All right, we're going to get this party started by welcoming Blue Devils head coach James Ford back to the studio at Culpeper Media Network. Great to see you, Coach.
Thank you for having me. Great to be here. Thank you.
Thanks for being a part of it, and just we really like your enthusiasm along with Coach Lowry of Eastern View. Really appreciate you guys coming in and really bringing that energy to talk about another football season. I know it's corny, but time does go quickly. We're back here ready, right on the heels now of another football season starting. And so this show kicks our season off. But you guys have been going at it for a while with your practices. And get us up to date. What do you think about the team so far?
Right now, we're still learning. We are young. We had to replace a lot of guys up front, replace the backfield. Our receiving core was young last year, and they're taking that step forward. Defensively, we're finding parts, putting guys in places that they can be successful and also help the team as much as possible. So we're still in that learning phase. We still have another week. We got Monticello as a scrimmage this weekend. That'll be another way for us to evaluate the guys, and then we'll go from there and get ready for EV.
Sounds good. In fact, as Steve Peacock gets ready to weigh in, we know that the season's going to kick off with the annual Cannonball Classic, Steve, and I know you'll be excited about that game. Coach, as you well know, it's a game that the Blue Devils have never won.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about, Steve and I have been following sports for so long, and it made me think of Northwestern way back when the Wildcats, they had a 34-game losing streak, but nothing lasts forever.
Nothing lasts
So,
forever.
and not to put any pressure on you or jinx it, but how do you feel about that matchup this year?
I mean, Eastern View is the perennial power in our district every year. They're going to have good athletes. They're going to be really good up front. They got really good parts. We have to play with great technique and execute. That's going to be the biggest thing. And we can't worry about the scoreboard. We just got to play our game, and hopefully the scoreboard take care of itself. That's the big thing. Again, we haven't won this game, so we got to go in with energy and ready to play from snap one. So
I wish it would go back to the real old days. Is that it's the last game of the season,
Yes.
the regular season versus the beginning. Just because, as it means a lot now that it's a district game, but that end of the season gives them more credence, especially if you're vying to get in the playoffs or win the district championship. That's just the way I feel, but who am I to tell people what to do? So.
Well, they don't poll me either, so
Yeah,
here we are. But so a few things to always talk about, Coach. What about your coaching staff this year? Any changes in personnel?
We've added a couple of coaches to our younger level to help the development of the guys, so especially our younger guys. But the coach staff remained intact. We didn't lose anybody, which was great. And, it just helps with our continuity as a staff and all of us on the same page. So it makes for a great coaching room.
And that's the sort of thing you like to have on a team. But the reality of it is that people get older and they graduate and they move on. Or they move on because they go to different schools, that sort of thing. And that brings up the topic of Malachi Terrell. Your leading ball carrier a year ago, one of the best running backs in the area.
Yes.
What do you say, 1,700 rushing yards last year?
1,700 yards, yeah.
So he's no longer with you. So obviously it leaves some huge shoes to fill. How does the team do it, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I mean, with that production, you don't feel that with one guy, or you don't try to fill it with one guy. You don't try to put that onus or that pressure on one guy. We have a great running back room. Our running back room is very deep. We got our second leading rushers back in Jakari Edwards. We have some young guys in J.Q. Williams and Griffin Tanner, and those guys are in that running back room also. So, we just ask those guys to step up and make a play. That's the big thing, is step up and make plays when your number's called. I mean, play hard, play hard, play hard. That's our motto.
Well, also, Coach, those 1,700 yards that Malachi gave you last year was also had to begin with the boys up front.
Correct.
I mean, if there weren't open holes for him, he wouldn't get in the yardage. And I mean, I always commented that he was a great downhill runner. He kind of a little bit slow to get the step, but once he did get that step and get going, he was a tough man to bring down. But let's focus this year. You spoke about Jakari Edwards and company. I think they have a really legitimate chance of being very good players this year, but it's all going to begin up front. How do you feel about your offensive line?
We're up front very green. We're replacing 4 out of 5 starters on the offensive side, and I believe 2 out of 4 starters on the defensive side. So we're going to be very, very green up front. Our guys, they're doing a good job. We have decent size. We have guys that are stepping up and learning both sides of the ball. We just got to work on continuity as a group. I mean, when you lose 4 guys and 2 are playing at the next level, one had the opportunity to play at the next level but decided to be a student, which is awesome. When 3 or 4 guys were next level guys, it's going to be tough to replace that. But the next guys that are stepping up are very, very, very hardworking guys, and and I'm proud of them because they're taking this on, and they're not backing down.
Coach, I'll look at your roster, and I want to ask you about the turnout, the numbers. Where are they in terms of what your expectations were?
Right now, we're about 65 to 70 guys right now, both on the JV and varsity teams. Great turnout for, especially a couple of years ago when when everyone was struggling with numbers and after the COVID years and things of that nature. But we have a good amount of guys. We're still working on depth, trying to get guys in position to be, great at their position. Some guys think they can play this, and as a coach, you feel they can play that. So you still to get those guys to play those positions that you feel that will help the squad.
When I look at the roster, and you talk about the linemen, Tucker Dean,
yes,
still on there. And I
yes.
know you're glad to have him
Yes,
back.
yes. Tucker is our leader. He's our vocal leader on the line. We had to move him to center because he's the leader.
It all starts at
It
the
all
snap,
starts
right?
at snap. If the snap doesn't, the quarterback doesn't get the ball, the offense doesn't go. So we had to move Tucker Dean to center. And we have some great guys who are returners that were part-time starters for us last year, and Jaden Johnson and Elijah Banks. Those guys will be back, and it's great to have a guy like Aiden Curley back. He also anchors our line, and then Larry Williams, who is our Swiss
right.
Army knife.
Right.
Larry played everything from tight end to left tackle to defensive end to linebacker. I mean, he's all over the field for us.
Yeah, I guess your biggest regret about Larry is you just you can't clone him, right?
Yeah, that's a great kid too. That's
yeah,
awesome.
and I wanted to ask you, Steve, if you're okay with, I know you're chomping
fine.
it back in. I think the kicking game is important too.
Yes.
Where do you stand with your kicking game?
Hey, RJ Uribe's back. He has gotten so much better and stronger over the summer. So proud of him. He went to kicking camps and he did everything that he had to do to improve this summer. I think he really let last year drive him. He didn't let it discourage him. He let it drive him to be the better football player this year. So I'm really proud to see his growth over the summer.
Big key is make sure you get a good long snapper.
Yes, Logan's back. Logan Allen was our long snapper last year. He's back. He's only a junior, so he played for us as a sophomore and got some, was long snapper. So I'm proud. And Logan worked all hard this summer. So, we're glad to have our battery back in the. And plus, Cole Plaster's our holder, so our whole battery is back for special teams.
Cole Plaster's a key name
Yes.
player on your team. Some of these guys just have to wear a lot of different hats, right?
Yes, and Cole's one of those guys.
Yeah.
He plays our slot and our slot receiver, but we'll move him around a little bit on offense, and we'll move him around a little bit on defense also. He'll play safety and corner. So just to put guys in position to make plays.
And one of the things, Coach, and this is just an observation, I mean, it's a criticism, I think it is what it is, that sort of thing. But, Steve and I have followed the Blue Devils for a long time and the Cyclones since 2008. It seems like a lot of things have been in place for you, but it's almost as if in the speed department the team really hasn't been there, and that can be a decisive factor in games.
Yeah, we haven't had the maybe the speed that that other teams have had, but we try to compensate with our guys just playing to the whistle, playing hard, and using great technique. And that's going to be our deal. I mean, we're faster now than we were a couple of years ago, and then last year also. Our guys worked really hard in the weight room this summer to get in their speed and strength training.
Right.
Well, Coach, we got the upcoming season. We've already, Battlefield District's a tough district.
Yes.
Who do you like to see? I mean, I know you want to keep one game at a time, but who do you look at as could make a break? Who could have a breakout season this year?
Well, of course, Easternview.
Yeah.
They've been district champions so many times. They're perennial district powerhouse. You have King George, who's been the upstart these last couple of years. They have athletes all over the place, and they're just as athletic this year. And James Monroe. People tend to sleep on them a little bit because the last couple of years they haven't been down, but they haven't been the James Monroe of old with survey. But Cog Hill's doing a really good job with that program, and they're going to be good. I mean, they get athletes out of the Fredericksburg area, and they're going to be a good football team.
Very good. Coach, great to see you.
Yeah, thank you all.
Yeah,
Great seeing you all too.
Good to see you. I can't wait till we get started.
Yeah, it's like Christmas.
Yeah. So thanks for joining us. As always, great to see you. We look forward to seeing you again at the Cannonball Classic. I think
Yes.
it's going to be played at Eastern View High
At
School.
Eastern this year, yes.
All right.
It's been a while since we, played there, so we look forward to it.
All right.
Good luck.
We will catch up next with Eastern View head coach Brian Lowry. All right, Coach Brian Lowry, welcome to the studio
Thanks for having me.
and our Coach's Corner. Now, this is a kickoff that starts our season in broadcasting, but as I mentioned to Coach Ford, you guys have been going at it for a while.
Yeah.
What are you seeing so far out of these Cyclones?
I think we're just more developed. I think we've been together longer. Last year having 3 weeks before the season started to really start installing everything. This year we've been going since February. Now it's spread out. It's not nearly as up tempo, if you will, as those 3 weeks because we've had time. But just going into camp and where we are now compared to where we were last year, it's night and day difference. We're more developed. We understand the scheme and the system. We're more disciplined. We're more focused. Our culture is better as a whole. Just in general, it is significantly further along in the process. Last year we were still installing offense probably week 6 or 7. We're about done. You know what I mean? And that's just because they've had time. They've had time. And that's really the big difference is just time.
Well, and tell me about the scrimmage schedule. You guys have scrimmaged, was it Hanley?
Yeah, John Hanley.
Right, up in Winchester.
Right, so they came down here this year, and then we'll be at Kettle Run this coming Thursday. That's the 18th, also my anniversary. So,
Congratulations.
yeah.
Now, what do we think of when you think of Kettle Run?
I mean,
What's that famous surname over there? Chumley.
oh, Chumley, yeah, well,
we get
so,
we're
there's
trying to
several
coach-
families
yeah.
several sons that went on to serve in the military, and that's all I can say, but they have their own distinguished career going on.
Right.
That's really impressive. And you go back and you look at the success we had back then, and you're like, wow, it does help to have these guys who are now moving along in the military. It's like,
Exactly.
it makes sense now.
I certainly appreciate their service.
Yes.
So you've scrimmaged Hanley. How many more scrimmages do you have before
Just one. It'll just be Kettle Run this
Okay.
coming Thursday, and then we get ready for the Cannonball Classic.
Do they come here or you go there?
We go there this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Coaching staff, any changes there, any additions?
A few changes. We had people go on through life. There was no negative departures, thankfully. We had our running back coach who ended up leaving. He went back to his old college in Pennsylvania, and he's got a job as a graduate assistant there. And then our defensive line coach, he works from home, and he and his fiance just bought a house out in Fredericksburg. So it doesn't make sense to come all the way out here when he doesn't work in the area. So we have a new outside linebackers coach to kind of fill his spot. Michael Mancini, he's a teacher at the school. And then we have a new running backs coach, also a Culpepper guy, in Chuck Dorsey, who's
Okay,
our running back.
Yeah, heard of that name.
Stayed in the area.
Now, don't you have a fella named Jeff Jenkins on this team?
We do. He's a little crazy, but he's great. We love him.
Been knowing Jeff for a good while.
Yeah, he's a good friend.
Probably since 1988 when I first met him in Church League softball, and he's done some different He's had different coaching gigs. He's done some football. He's done some wrestling, different schools, and I know he's really excited. I think offensive coordinator.
Right. So he'll be the offensive coordinator, and he and I work really well together. He's going to be calling the plays on a really down-to-down basis, but we have a great understanding and great working relationship, as well as personal relationship, that if there's something that I feel we really need to call, I can step in and we can do that. And he's a humble guy.
Yeah, and Jeff grew up here. He went
Yes.
to Culpeper High.
Yes.
And I know he's enjoyed his coaching stints everywhere he's gone.
Yes.
But I think deep down, to be back here in your hometown and
Yes.
and then having a major role in the coaching
Right,
staff, very
right.
important. for
And he
him.
brings some good input. I think as head coach, one thing that I have found in the last year is very important is delegation and being able to trust your assistants. And Jeff is a huge part of that. Being able to trust him to help come up with a game plan. It's a collaborative process, but he brings in great input and great thought process.
Coach, one question I want to ask you. Can you elaborate on what your strengths are going to be this year and what are maybe some of your weaknesses that you've got to get better in practice?
We're still a little inexperienced, not as inexperienced as last year. Last year we had a ton of sophomores and first-year seniors playing. We have a lot of two-year starters. There's just a lot of juniors. So we're still a little young. We're also not huge up front. We got Braden Walker, who's a tank, right? But how many Braden Walkers do you really have? The good news on the front side is, man, those cats get after it. They are just aggressive, and all they want to do is run you over. You know, and then at offensive line specifically, that's half the battle. If you have a good mentality and you have aggressive mentality while also being disciplined and know rules and responsibilities, it's really going to help. And that's, you know, we saw that in our first scrimmage. That was a slight concern, but, you know, they went against Hanley, who's significantly bigger than we were, and took it to them. We were able to run the ball really well. I was very pleased about that.
Yeah, and I think so what about the defense in that scrimmage?
Defense, we were really good. Defense, we kind of picked up where we left off. We really only lost 2 starters in the defensive back area. Lost 1 outside linebacker. Everybody else is back.
Got to talk about Brett Clatterball. I mean, what can you say about the kid? I mean, he's been impressive from day one.
Yeah.
And I don't want you to divulge anything you want to divulge, but we know he's a force on defense, a premier linebacker. But he got some reps last year, tight end position, and maybe even in the backfield some.
Yeah.
Do you see him being a multi-purpose player for you?
If he could throw the ball well, and Brett, if you're watching this, don't tell me that you can. If he could throw the ball well, he'd be Tim Tebow.
Right.
You know, like, yes, we'll get him the ball.
You know, and I could really see that.
Yeah.
I mean, that is no exaggeration.
I was kidding with him too earlier this summer and said, you know, go out for quarterback, get the ball in your hands.
Yeah, he'll throw it deep. It's just anything
doesn't know
else
where
is.
it's going.
But no, we'll get him the ball any way possible. You know, we've worked on that this summer, whether it be snapping the ball, handing the ball, splitting them out wide, motion, everything.
All right, definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Yes,
Well,
yes.
Coach, in the time we have left, I know that last year you guys finished 5-5. Did not qualify for the postseason, first time in a long time. Is one of your goals at least to get back to the postseason?
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're confident we're going to be able to this year. I think last year, all things considered, with how much stuff happened last year between the change, administrative change, things like that, COVID and stuff, you know, things happened that some of our assistants have been coaching for 20-something years they'd never seen before. And I'd ask them, like, hey, you know, have you? No, I've never seen this before. 5-5 isn't good enough. And we were not happy with 5-5. But it could have been worse. And we're very pleased with the direction we're heading. And we're very pleased with the culture that we've built. You know, after the King George game, I told the kids the biggest difference between us and King George was experience and weight room. Because this is the first legitimate weight room that Eastern View has had in 2-3 years between COVID and then, you know, Hat leaving and me coming in late and things like that. And it's done wonders. So no, we are very confident. That's the goal, and that's where we're heading.
And I know that you know about your first opponent, the Blue Devils, and you guys are going to meet in the annual Cannonball Classic. What do you think the fans are going to see when those two teams collide on August 26th?
I think you'll see passion. You know, I think you're going to see from both teams an excited team. I think you're going to see both teams chomping at the bit to get after it. You have a Culpeper squad who wants to win. You know, we did 7-on-7 this summer, and we had a kind of a weekly tournament, if you will, not real tournament, but a competition. And you can tell they want to win. They want to beat Eastern View, as they should, as anybody should, right? So on our end, the goal is not to focus on them, but to focus on ourselves.
Right.
And that's something we talked about in our leadership team meeting today, actually, with just the players, was we can't worry about whether another team is good, bad, or indifferent. Be great ourselves. And if we can be great on our end, take care of the rest.
All right.
And that's our goal.
All right.
All right, that's it.
Coach, great to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
Looking forward to the Cannonball Classic.
All right, good luck on the Cannonball Classic, and we'll see you throughout the season.
Sounds great.
All right. Well, Steve, we've had the opportunity to meet with both coaches tonight, and after Coach Ford and Coach Lowry both did a great job of eloquently expressing the status of their team and the outlook for this season, what are some of the thoughts you take away from listening to both coaches tonight?
Well, both of them are very optimistic. They have good outlooks on what their team is currently now and what they can achieve during a regular season. I think Culpeper is going to be in more of a rebuilding than Eastern View, but you've already hit on it. I mean, Culpeper's never beaten Eastern View, and that always weighs on their mind. And like you said, they can't be going. Eastern Views can't win them all, and so it's going to be, I think, come down to Friday, preparation. I mean, on August 26th, preparation. Keep the mistakes down, and whoever dominate the line of scrimmage. When you look down on paper right now, it's probably Eastern View, and so, but nothing against Culpeper. It's just that I think that's the way it's going to fall. However, now going on the rest of the season, Culpeper has a chance still to be successful, just like they were last year. Even when they got in the playoffs against Goochland. Eastern View, they were 5-5. They're not happy with that, but they're going to be challenged. They're going to be challenged, I think, by, first of all, King George, and possibly Chancellor and James Monroe is going to be in there in that mix. And Culpeper's in the same district, but I think there's. Do they go to Division 4 this year? No, I think they're still Division 3. So, but I have to double check on that. But
I will too.
If they're Division 3, I feel comfortable with them. But if they are in Division 4, they're going to have to pull some upsets.
And one of the games on our schedule this season is going to be during the second week of the season. We're going to go down to Orange and see Culpeper play Orange in a good local rivalry type game.
Yeah, and that's going to be good. And they're going to, and Orange is still is a Class 4 team.
Right.
They were Class 5. At least they got bumped down. They're going to be strong. It's a big rival game. But if Culpeper can handle Orange and really outplay them, then like I said, it's going to be they could surprise people in the district. But I think the biggest surprise they can do is they can beat Eastern View in the opening game.
It's about continuity or the lack thereof. So if you're talking to Coach Lowry, he talks about continuity with the coaching staff. Coach Ford missing the continuity where you talk about games won and lost in the trenches. They lost 4. They're starting 5 offensive linemen. Tucker Dean, he said, moves to center. A lot of pressure on him, but he's a veteran. They have to build around him.
They have to build around him and Bennett Sutherland. As a third-year returning starter quarterback, I'm anxious to see how he has matured for this upcoming season, and see what happens with Culpeper on defense. It's going to be interesting as well. I think right now Culpeper, you look at their schedule, they got a tough schedule, and they're going to have to, like I said, they're going to have to come right out of the gate. And the biggest concern I have with Culpeper too is injuries. And I know Coach Ford alluded about Malachi. It's the next up mentality. Jakari Edwards, he's going to have a big. He's going to be probably their feature back. And basically, if they can get some pass plays going and some play action, I think, like I said, they can be dangerous. But right now, it's going to be with Eastern View, Culpeper. Like I said earlier, it's going to be you look on paper, it's going to say Eastern View, but you know what? It's all right here in your heart, the pride.
Culpeper could offensively be running back by committee, too.
Right, it's exactly.
You said you had about 4 different players who can play there. All right, Steve, great to see you here at the Coach's Corner. I know we're looking forward to starting another season, and it's been a lot of fun tonight. That's going to wrap it up for us, but I'm going to tell you before we go something very important. I think you're going to like this. The games this year will all be live.
That's good.
Not just some, but all. And, of course, our live sponsor is Able Heating and Air. And so we're appreciative of them. All right. Hope you enjoyed the Coach's Corner. We certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. And we'll see you next at the annual Cannonball Classic on August 26th, Eastern View High School. Until then, so long.